hear me out. All you need to record really high quality videos is your phone. Within your phone, you can record really high quality videos without downloading any paid apps, without any fancy equipment, without any fancy cameras. You can record really good videos within your phone just if you understand how to put the settings correctly and what each of the settings within your video camera does. In this video, I will run you through each and every setting that you need to set and how you set it and what each of those settings mean to get the best video output from your camera. So we will look into the best video settings within the iPhone so you can get the best output from the camera. Without wasting any more time, let's get into it. Right, so just to start, first we will go into settings and we will go into camera. When we go in the camera, here we can see all the different camera settings. In this video, we are focusing on video settings. So first, let's start with the record video settings, which is the first option over here. When we go in that, now here you will see there are all different kind of video settings on top. What each of these mean and how to set the best one that works for you. There are two things we are looking at, the resolution and the FPS. FPS means frames per second. Resolution means that the higher the resolution, the sharper the image you will get, the more resolution image you will get, of course. And FPS means that in the more FPS number, you'll get more frames per second. Now, how to set the right FPS is based on what kind of video you're recording. If you are going to record something which is going to be in slow motion and you want to get the smooth slow motion, you record on high FPS. So you can record it something like 120 but a normal video is usually like all the movies that we see and all the films that we watch and all of that is usually shot on 24 or 30 FPS. And why it is shot in 24 or 30 FPS is our human eye usually sees things in 24 FPS. As human eye, we actually see the blur happen when something moves. So 24 FPS or 30 FPS will give you the result which is closest to what the human eye sees. But again, if you want to record something super smooth slow motion like a bird flying or something like that, record on higher FPS and then you can always speed it up if you want. So if you're recording a normal video, I would recommend you go around 30 FPS. And for resolution, of course, the highest you can go, the better. If you can go 4K, that means you will have really high resolution image and you will have 30 FPS, which is very close to the human eye, what human eye sees. Now, the second thing we will look at is the PAL formats. Now, PAL formats are for specific countries. So if you're somewhere in Europe or in South America and so on, I would recommend you activate that. But if you are elsewhere, I'm in New Zealand, I don't use PAL formats. We don't use PAL formats over here, so you won't need it. If you are in any of those countries which are listed over there, then use PAL format. Now, just for context, that all these settings we are looking at is in 16 Pro Max, which is the latest model to date. Maybe if you have a 15 Pro, you will probably have exactly similar settings. If you have an older model, your settings might be a little bit different, but you will still have a lot of these options that we will discuss in this video. So let's get back to it. After PAL format, we see enhanced stabilization. I will always keep it enabled. Reason is because it will internally stabilize your video. So if you have got a lot of shake while you're recording the video, the iPhone will stabilize the video for you. Next option we see is action mode low light. Action mode low light is really good if you're shooting, of course, really high action in a low light situation like an evening light or something. But there's a problem with that it will affect the stabilization. So you cannot have stabilization and low light action mode active at the same time. So again, while you're recording the video, you have to assess the situation that, okay, am I shooting in really low light? Do I really need that high action movement? If not, keep the stabilization on and keep the action mode low light off. HDR video, never use it. I don't ever use it. It is basically going to enhance the shadows and give you more HDR result. The problem with that is also it's going to give you a different file format. It might not be the easiest for you to handle that file format. And it's very rarely used, so I wouldn't say use HDR video. After that, you have auto FPS. Now, auto FPS is basically that the camera is going to reduce or change the camera settings based if the light is really low. So you can go in that and you can say, I don't want camera to change the settings on its own. Or if you want, you can set this auto 30 and 60 FPS. So it will automatically change the FPS based on the situation of if there's low light or so on. After that, we have a setting which is extremely important, and especially if you're using iPhone 15 or 16 line, extremely important to turn this on, which is lock camera. Why it is extremely important is because if you're recording a video and if you want to change focus from your background to your foreground, if you're recording a person and you want to focus on the background a little bit, blur their face and then bring it back to their face and focus back on their face, what iPhone will do if you will not have this option enabled is that it will switch the lenses on its own. It will take its own decision of switching lenses. Now you've got 3 different lenses over here. While you're recording the video, you don't want to be changing the focal length. You don't want to be changing the resolution of your video. But if this thing is not activated, iPhone will do that. It will try to understand the scene and it will try to pick the best of these 3 lenses for that video. You don't want to do that. You want to keep the same focal length. You don't want to have pixelated video in the middle and then sharp video in the rest of the video. So just keep this on so that it does switch lens on its own. After that, we have lock white balance, also extremely important, and this is actually very important when you're shooting sunset or something with like really bright light. What happens with that is, like, if you're shooting sunset and the sun goes down, the temperature overall changes, things start to get bluer. The white balance of the overall image will start to shift. iPhone will try to adjust the white balance and probably choose the wrong white balance for you. So my recommendation would be to lock the white balance, which means regardless if the sun goes down or if the sun stays up, the temperature, the color settings of your video stay the same. Now let's go into the second bit, which is record slow-mo. Again, we talked about it a little bit earlier. When you're recording a slow-mo, you can choose if you want to record it for 240 FPS on a smaller resolution or 120 FPS in 4K resolution. 240 FPS means it will give you extremely super slow-mo video, which if you want for that shot, sure, do it. If you do not want extremely super slow but you still want slow-mo, you can choose 4K 120 FPS. After that, we have record cinematic video. It's a really good option, but I will keep it for another video. It's a whole different discussion, and if you're interested in knowing more about it, let me know. Record a separate video for that. After that, we have got something called record sound. If you're on iPhone 15 line, you will probably only have stereo and mono option, but if you are in 16 line, and this is 16 Pro Max, you'll have the spatial audio as well. What this means is that your phone has cameras all around and it will record a surround system sort of style of audio for the video that you're recording. So when you're listening to it in headphones or in a theater sort of situation, you can actually feel the surround system of the video. So spatial audio, which is new by Apple, by the way, is a really cool feature. Otherwise, you can record stereo video audio as well if you want. Of course, keep the wind noise reduction off because you don't want the wind noise, and also allow auto playback. It says about preference and it will not really make any big difference to your video quality, so I will not talk about it. We are only focusing on best video quality in these settings. After that, we have got formats. Now what happens is you have high efficiency and most compatible. High efficiency means that it will record videos in iPhone's own format, which is HEIF. It is very efficient in the sense that it will not take a lot of space in your phone, but it will not be very compatible with different devices. So if you move it to a Windows computer, you might not be able to play it. You can still play it on a Mac, but you might not be able to play on a Windows computer. If you want a file format which is most compatible, which means it works on Windows, it works on anything, then choose most compatible. Most compatible, however, would mean that the file size of the video will also be big. Speaking of file size, there's something else that I want to mention. When you're recording 4K videos, keep this in mind that the file size of the videos will be huge. So once you have done whatever shooting, just move them to your computer or something so you don't fill up your phone. And then we go directly to composition. Here we have two very important settings that I always keep turned on, which is the grid and the level. The grid means that you will actually see a grid when you're taking a video, so you know that your shot is straight and not tilted. And level is the same thing. When you're taking a video like this, you can actually level that, making sure that your phone's straight, not like this. So you keep it straight so you can take straight flat lay shots. If you take a lot of food shots or flat lay shots, you'll be familiar with how important it is to take a straight shot. So level will help you with that. The next thing we will look into is our settings within when we are in the camera app, how we can use them and what each of those do. So let's jump into that. Okay, so now we are in our video tab inside our camera app. Let's go through each of these settings one by one, really slowly without making it any confusing, and make sense of each of these settings. First thing that we have to be in the video tab, of course. You can also go in cinematic tab if you want to record a cinematic video. As I said, I'll explain the cinematic video in a separate video because it's got a lot of things to it. You can go to slow motion or slow-mo if you want to record a slow-mo. But let's go to the video settings and let's look at the settings first. What we look at on the top right is the settings that we saw within the settings tab, where we can change our frame rate, which is FPS, from 120, 24, 60, 30, and so on. Now we'll go back to 30. The other thing we can also change from here is that 4K or HD and different resolutions. Again, something that we could have done in our settings before, but you can also do it from here. There's something else which is really two actually very important settings. First of all, you see that at the bottom there's a portrait icon or like a flower icon. Now what that does is activates the portrait mode. If you're taking a portrait, it will focus on the portrait, blur the background, typical. You can deactivate it if you're photographing or filming a landscape. So make sure that you do that, because I took some photos before when I was using this phone for the first time, and a lot of them the portrait mode was on and I was trying to photograph a landscape, so you don't want to be making that mistake. So the other thing we see is on the top left. So we have something called ProRes log. Now this is where things get really beautiful. You can actually record a raw video on an iPhone. This is so huge, I cannot emphasize enough on this, because even some of the professional cameras cannot record a raw video. The camera I'm recording this video on cannot record a raw video unless I connect a recorder to it. Now the 16 Pro at least can record a ProRes raw video. It's mental. It gives you so much detail within the video that you can then color grade it and take it to the next level. But there is a little warning with that ProRes raw videos will take a lot of space on your phone. So it is recommended that if you really want to record a ProRes raw video, and if you're really good at color grading and you want all those details and shadows and highlights, then you get one of those or two of those like I did, and you can actually connect one of these SSD drives with your phone directly because it uses USB-C, and you can record those ProRes raw videos directly onto your SSD drive. Going back to the other setting, which is our exposure. Now exposure is also quite important, especially if you want to set a mood to the shot. If you want to make your image a bit darker, you can underexpose it a little bit. So you see how I am scrolling through the exposure panel. You can make it a bit darker, you can make it a bit lighter, you can just make it 0. You can also access this without even having to open that from the top left. You can just tap on the image anywhere and try like swipe down and it will start to underexpose. So that's how you can use the exposure. The other thing that to notice over here is all the settings that we talked about and more can be accessed if we tap on this top arrow over here, and it will show us some more settings. We have the flash. I have kept it off because in video I don't need flash. We have the exposure, which we just looked at. We have the ProRes on or off, like I kept it off, but you can turn it on. If you're recording action shot, you can turn that on as well. So now these are all the settings and everything that you will need to know to start taking some really good videos. Now if you're not taking good videos after this, then I've got something else for you, that I will be working on a really detailed course for both photography and film, using your phone and using different cameras, and all of those will be online on outofofficeclub.com, which is my new site where I will be posting all of these up. If you want, you can go and subscribe over there for free. You will get an email the moment any of these courses go live, but you'll also get a discount, flat 50% on each and every course, each and every preset that will go live on that website. Now, some of these courses will also be completely free because I want to share all of this knowledge. Anything that I learn, I like to share it, and I love to share it for free. So a lot of stuff will also be free, but you'll only know when it goes live if you subscribe. So I would also highly recommend for you to go to that website and put your name on the list. If you enjoyed this video, if you found this helpful, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. It really supports me, and it also really encourages me to spend all this time and make a really detailed video for you. I'll see you in another video. Please do not forget to subscribe and like this video, and let me know in the comment section if there's anything specific with photography that you struggle with. I'd be happy to help. See you in another video.